Well, g'day and welcome to the Mad Dragons vodcast. It's a bit of a somber one. I think we've just put up our worst performance of the year, and it's taken us a little while to get over it. So it's a little bit later in the week when we're actually recording this. We've actually got the next week's team list to have a bit of a look at as well. So you're joined by Joe Hickry, Benny O'Brien, Matt Hasler, and potentially Mick Foster at some point once he can find the Zoom link. But g'day, boys. How are we all feeling?
G'day, gentlemen.
Yeah, could be better after the weekend, but yeah, we'll get into that now, I think.
Yeah, I'll start with you, Matty. You look at I'll look at the scoreline against the Tigers. 16 points to 8, we went down, and from my perspective, I think that scoreline probably flattered us. So I suppose the question is, what went wrong?
Well, I think what went wrong. Good evening, Donny and evening, boys. I think what went wrong was too many drop balls, and I think it was 41 or so missed tackles. You cannot make 41 missed tackles and that number of drop balls and expect to win a football game. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Ball security was absolutely atrocious. It gave them far too much possession in our half, put us under a lot of pressure, and in the end, it told.
Yeah, we've sort of seen it. We've seen it throughout the year where we have struggled defensively, but the difference between the Parramatta missed tackles and these missed tackles was, against Parramatta, it was because our line speed. So we were aggressively defending, getting up in their face and bouncing off them, and that was the reason why we were missing tackles. Whereas this game, we were standing back on our heels and we were still missing plenty of tackles, and it was actually leading to putting us under pressure. I mean, did you see a difference in the way that we're defending at the moment, Benny?
Definitely the enthusiasm wasn't there. It was pretty obvious. I think they may have slightly changed their defensive pattern. In the Parramatta game, it looked like they actually had a plan to sort of counteract their attack. But the last couple of games, it hasn't been there. So I don't know whether Hook's sort of let them run free a little bit, or whether he's just not prepared enough coming into the game. But the last couple of games, they've been floundering around, no structure, a lot of missed tackles like we saw on the weekend. And like Matty said, you can't do that. You can't have 40-odd missed tackles and expect to win a football game. And even off the back of that, again, like Matty said, all those drop balls and stupid penalties and mistakes, like, you just can't win a footy game without the football. You know, you can't get it over the line if you don't have it. So they've got a lot of work to do to try and fix it. But yeah, I think we're in a bit of a shambles at the moment.
Yes. Joe, are we being a little bit too critical of the Dragons? I mean, if you look at the extenuating circumstances, we lose Lomax pretty early in the game, Kerr off to a HIA. So on that side of the field, we've got a player playing out of position. We've got another bloke playing his third first-grade game. He's basically out of position as well because he's a centre, not a winger. And in the second row, we've got a bloke that's coming off the bench filling a hole. We were in disarray on that side of the field pretty early. So, I mean, is there some acceptable excuses that the Dragons have for that performance?
Oh, yeah, well, definitely. I also think if we were playing better quality opposition, they would have probably put 40 on us, to be honest. So I think we did really well keeping them at 18. That's 3 tries to 1. We showed good early signs early in the piece when we did have the first 20 was good, the first 20 minutes or so. And then the Tigers kind of just gained a little bit of momentum, and it was just a bit hard. But yeah, I still say that if we were playing better quality opposition with the key players you mentioned that were out on that side of the field, that would have been a lot more points scored against us. So thankfully that wasn't the case, and it was only an 8-point deficit, but still that's another loss, you know.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we've lost 3 on the trot and we're still in the top 6. Thank God. But yeah, that's another thing to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah, I must admit I had a bit of a double take on the ladder, thinking it was a week behind when I saw we were still sitting in 6th spot. It doesn't feel like we deserve to still be in the top 8 the way we're going at the minute. I'll bring you in now, Mick. Mick, welcome to the show. Ben Hunt's return. Perhaps not his best game. Do you think maybe he came back a week early? He looked a little bit tentative to me.
Yeah, good day, Donny. Good day, boys. First of all, with Hunt, I think we probably should have kept Clune. I know that probably sounds a bit ridiculous with the amount of money that Hunt's on, but Clune, we were winning the games when Clune was playing. So I think we really should have kept Clune on the field, maybe put a Hunt on the bench. But I also think, just going back to your earlier question, I can't see without my glasses. Hang on, getting a bit off this. Was it? Yeah, Benny. Yeah, the question to Benny about the defence. I think maybe since Maguire's turned up, we've lost every game since Maguire's turned up. Now, I'm not going to blame Maguire for that, because someone else made another good point on the Dragon page today. Ever since Maguire turned up, the passion in the forwards gone out, because they're leaving it for Maguire to provide all that aggro and the aggression, whereas before Maguire turned up, they were all doing it. As soon as Maguire turns up, no one's really doing it except Maguire. And that's sort of what my impression of why the forwards have backed off a bit, because they think, oh yeah, we've got the hard man here, let him do it. What do you think about that?
I think that's a nice little convenient coincidence. I mean, we've also lost every game since Darren Etchells became a Red V member. I don't know whether that. I don't know whether that's a reason why we're losing. I think, I don't know. I think you can read a lot into it, but I mean, at the end of the day, Josh Maguire's been playing pretty well. For me, he started the game, played 80 minutes, ran for 130 odd metres, made over 50 tackles. He was the enforcer we needed him to be. It's just a few blokes around him. In particular, I thought that the second rowers, Tariq Sims and Josh Kerr, for me, they're the two that should be under immense pressure. Your thoughts on that, Matty?
Yeah, look, I completely agree. Tariq had a very, very good game against Parramatta. He's doing everything that he did in that glorious final against Brisbane, where he absolutely ran through him like a dose. The last few weeks, this week in particular, it just hasn't been there. Maybe it's got something to do with Maguire, maybe it doesn't, but yeah, I think it's been alluded to already. Since Maguire's joined the club, the aggression has basically gone out of the rest of the forwards.
Did that come be coincidental?
None of that killer instinct the last couple of weeks.
So that can't be coincidental then, surely, because it just happened as soon as they rocked up. Our forwards, they're not performing like they were before. So to me, it's got to be that Maguire's turned up. He's the hard man. Let him do it. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah, I still think that our front rowers were both very good. I still think Paul Vaughan and Blake Laurie really ripped in this game and had a crack. I don't think that they've dropped off too much at all. I think we've just got a team that has that capacity to be up and about for a few weeks, but they just can't seem to maintain it, which is the difference between the good teams and the also-rans. And at the moment, I think we're slipping into that also-rans category. But yeah, I mean, Tariq Sims, 3 errors. He had a penalty against him as well. Josh Kerr, we talk about missed tackles. He made just 20 tackles and he missed 9, or had 9 missed or ineffective tackles. You couple that with Ben Hunt, who made 14 tackles and had 14 missed or ineffective tackles. I mean, we've got a few individuals that really didn't front up in that game against the Tigers at all. Joe, I suppose in looking at the players that didn't perform, and looking at the team list for this weekend's game against the Bulldogs, do you feel like these blokes are actually being held accountable at the moment?
I don't know. As it is, it's picking a side is slim pickings because there's not much to choose from at the moment. They're all either injured or playing out of position or not playing very well. So I think he's just doing the best he can with what he has. The point that I alluded to earlier, that if you had the luxury, see, the thing is we've got three halves there. You've got the luxury of three halves. We're missing a centre. A half can play in centre position. All you're doing is running, tackling, catching, scoring, passing. You don't have to think too much, with all due respect, you know. And I think if we need to bring Clune back into the team somehow. I think Clune in the halves with Ben Hunt would possibly put Norman at centre and leave the young fella. What's his name again? Fui Malay. How do you pronounce it? Yeah, I can't pronounce his name. God bless him. But yeah, leave him in his position. You know what I mean? At back row. So, you know, I don't see a harm, and I like the idea of what you said, Benny, too. Possibly even putting, coming to think about it, putting Norman at fullback. You know, these sort of things. Maybe if you hold them to account, but it's a jigsaw puzzle. He's got to try and make it fit. So either way, whatever he does, he's got the Bulldogs. It's not just like the Tigers. You know, they're all wounded and they're desperate. So the Tigers were extremely desperate. They were always going to come out firing, and like I said, we didn't. And Donnie actually said too, we didn't play too bad, because if we were playing a lot worse, we would have had probably 40 put against us. And if it was a better opposition team, we would have had 40. So I don't think it's panic stations as yet. It'd be good when we were missing Rava on the wing with his big hits, coming in for those big hits, and they wouldn't have scored too many tries on that wing, I don't believe, if Rava was there. So we've got to buy our time with injuries as well. You know, it's a bit grim, but thank God the run home, or not run home, rather, our run over the next couple of weeks isn't so bad. And all we got is Melbourne, which is another test. But we've got to get it right this week. It's kind of a bit of a, with all due respect to the Bulldogs, it's a little bit softer opposition. So whatever ideas he has, now's the time to try and put it together and see how we go. You know?
Benny, I suppose the last one I've really got for this Tigers game, one player that I seem to have seen his performance a little bit differently to the way a lot of people on Facebook seem to have. Just want to get your impressions on the game on the weekend from Max Feagai.
Yeah, again, it's still very early days. And you know what, I think that's really reminiscent of the whole side at the moment. Are we being too uber critical on the whole squad at the moment? Like, it's Hook's first year in. We've got a lot of the junior players coming up through the ranks. We're actually in a really good spot compared to what anybody gave us a chance for at the beginning of the season. We're probably giving them a bit of a hard time at the moment because we're just diehard Dragons fans, and we expect wins and we go hard till the end. But if you sort of look at where we are now compared to last season, considering recently the injuries that we've been getting, and I think too, even the JDB thing that's going on. I know we haven't mentioned it before on the podcast, and probably not a subject we really want to get into, but how much is that weighing on the players and the coaching staff and whatnot? I know this last week there's been a lot of talk about it in the media, and a lot of players obviously are very close with him. So, you know, like this, it's still early in the season too. You know, like I think come Origin time, I don't think we're going to have too many picks. So, we might be able to jag a couple of wins around there, and then the run home, who knows what's going to happen. I'm still confident we're going to make the 8, but the young guys coming through like Feagai and whatnot, they're going to wet their feet. You know what I mean? And it's not an easy thing to jump up to that level of competitiveness and have a blinder straight out, especially when the team's so up and down. So, again, we've got to give them time. to develop and learn the game and get comfortable with the other players. So I think coming in towards the end of the year and into next year, it's going to be really good. I think some real positive signs there. It's actually good that we're doing it tonight, because for me, if we'd done it after the game, we would have been having a lot more sort of choice words and really been fired up. So I think doing it today is good. You know, we can sort of have a bit of retrospect about it and approach it from a different angle. You know, me personally, that's sort of the way I'm looking at it now. Like I said, are we being too critical at this point of the season, considering where we've been and where we're going? So.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think people are being far too harsh on young Max. He's playing just his third game in the top grade. He made one error and one defensive error. So basically two mistakes that he had in the game. And apart from that, he ran for 170 metres. He ran for more metres than anybody else in the team. I thought he really rolled up his sleeves and had a crack. He might not have, been scoring too many spectacular tries, but we didn't have a lot of opportunities for outside backs with your forwards losing the battle in the middle of the field.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the thing too. Like, what are we judging the players' performance on? You know what I mean? What's the benchmark? If we don't win, do all the players, do they have a crap performance? No, obviously. Otherwise, we'd be getting belted 50 mil every game. So, the players are putting in the work, and I'm guilty myself. I've been uber critical of certain players that I think are a waste of space. But in saying that too, like, I'm not strapping on a jersey and managing every week. Come on, mate. You said it, not me. But yeah, like it's all perspective at the end of the day. So let's see how we go next week. If he has another decent effort, and who knows. With players coming back, it's always going to be tricky is who's going to keep their spot and who's going to get pushed back out. But I guess that's a decision for Hook and the coaching staff to sort of make. But even like Joe said, like, our roster's getting pretty low. There's not a lot to pick from. So I think the players that are there maybe are a little bit comfortable knowing that they don't really have to compete for their position. So when the players start coming back from injury, let's see how they go then.
Mick, what is it that we have to do to inspire the players? Because the last couple of weeks we had Anzac Day, which is a game that Dragons teams always get up for, and they didn't. This weekend we had a game at home in Wollongong where we usually play well. Farewell to Trent Merrin. There was plenty of reasons for us to be up and about, go out there and have a good performance. How do we motivate this team?
Well, yeah, mate. Look, that's a really good question. And if we looking back on Sunday, the boys are going to play in the Blood and Bandages jersey of 1921 for when the club, of course, first was formed. So you're playing in that original Dragons, St George Dragons jersey. If that doesn't inspire these guys, I don't really know what else we can do. But as has been said by the boys tonight, we're running out of players, and we have got guys sort of playing in some wrong positions. So I'll put it to you guys. I've got some more wrong positions for you that I would be trying if I was Hook. I'd be getting Norman out of half, and I'd be putting him at fullback because he was an exceptional fullback, and he's been a very good fullback before. Half, for some reason, it doesn't seem to be working with Hunt. I would be putting him at fullback, and I would try Dufty in the halves with Klein. That's what I would try, because Dufty.
What are you doing with Hunt?
Position, he's pretty. Yeah, Hunt. Leave Hunt where he is. Put Klein. Oh, sorry. What did I say?
You said Dufty and you can't have two 5'8".
Sorry. Yeah, no.
Two
fullbacks. Good point. Why can't we have two fullbacks? No, okay, I think I got that wrong. Okay. No. Yeah. So I'll probably have Clune and Dufty together. Hunt, I would have on the bench, and Norman at fullback. That was one scenario. Another one that I had, if Ramsey wasn't going to play, to me it would be obvious to put Norman at fullback, put Dufty on the wing, because Ramsey's not the strongest bloke going around. Dufty's not the strongest bloke going around, but Dufty's got speed and Ramsey's got speed. So if Ramsey's gone, as soon as you put Dufty on the wing, you've replaced Ramsey, as far as I'm concerned. Norman's at the fullback. Norman's a pretty good defensive player. He's a very good kicker of the ball, and he's played fullback before. You got Klein in the halves with Who did I say? Clune and who?
Clune and Dufty in the halves.
No. Yeah, Clune and Dufty in the halves. Because if you get the ball to Dufty in the halves, all he's got to do is sidestep a Blake and he scores. He doesn't have to run 90 metres to try to score. He's only got to do 20.
I don't think we're ever going to see.
I just don't know why we don't try it.
I've heard a lot of people suggest to put Dufty into the halves, but I just don't think we're ever going to see it. I don't think we're ever going to see him defending in the front line. Like he's a bloke that defends at about 60% defensive efficiency. You've got him defending in the front line where he's got to make 25, 30 tackles. He becomes less effective in attack. He gets tied to one side of the field as well. We've seen it with guys like Kalen Ponga. You put him into the halves and you lose all of that elusiveness of him being able to bob up anywhere on the field. I think you put him in the halves, it's far too restrictive and you lose a lot of his attack and you would overemphasize his defensive deficiencies for me. So I think Dufty is either fullback or he's not in the team, in my opinion. Joe?
Okay, to bring Dufty off the bench.
Joe, any different thoughts to that?
No, not really. But I have to agree with you, but Donny, if Dufty's not fullback, maybe bench position. But yeah, he's not a good defending player. He's, like you said, probably misses 4 out of 10 tackles. So you gotta, he can't play in the halves, I don't think. But fullback, 100%. He's a fullback. He's a natural ball running player, and he's also had some luck. I know I'm contradicting myself, but he is good at the back in defence. So in front line defence, I don't think so. And that's where you gotta remember. That's where you win and you lose your games. The less points scored against you, the less you have to score. So I don't think so. He's got to stay back there.
Yeah. Matty, just sort of moving on to the game against the Dogs. Why can we win?
Obviously, Bulldogs haven't been playing well up until very, very recent times. And I mean, the Bulldogs game is always a little bit of a special one. Remember, I went to the anniversary of the was it the? I'm trying to think which year it was. Was it 78 or 80? When we played the Bulldogs in the grand final, we went to the. I think it was the 25th anniversary.
That was 85.
Was it?
85 when we lost by 1 point.
7-6, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was actually at that game, and there was a lot of feeling both on and off the field in that game. So Bulldogs clashes are always pretty spicy affairs, and I think with the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, I just get the feeling that someone in the team is really, really going to step up. They're not going to want to lose to the Bulldogs the way that they lost to the Tigers.
Who is it, Matty? Give us a name. Who's going to step up?
For mine, I think it's going to be Tarek.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. It's Tarek and Hunt, and McCulloch as well. Those three. So yeah, that's where I think not necessarily improvement needs to happen, but these three will shine and they'll turn it on. It's funny, when Tarek has a good game, we win. When he's off his game a little bit and he's not playing to his full potential, we somehow lose. I don't know if that's a coincidence or what the go is there, because he's just an animal. He's a strong leader. And maybe, I don't know, if the Maguire thing is all a confusion, having Maguire there. The guy hasn't won a game all year for us or the Cowboys, so it's not starting too well.
He's a bit of a bad omen at the moment, but hopefully he can break his duck in 2021. Benny, what's the big concern for you for this game against the Dogs? What is it that you're most worried about?
To be honest, mate, injuries. I think our bench is going to be really weak. The last couple of weeks, we haven't had a back or a utility player on the bench at all, and all of our injuries have been backs. So I don't think we can afford to lose another player or two, and I think the Bulldogs are going to come out purposely trying to just belt us all day. I know that's what I would do if I was coaching against us. I'd be like, just go out there and hurt them because they're on a limited roster. They've got not a lot coming off the bench. And I still think Benny Hunt's under a bit of an injury cloud personally. Ramsey is going to be not 100%. If it was a broken rib, which I'm not 100% sure it was, no way he's back after a week.
That's rib cartilage, I reckon.
Yeah, but
So
still,
you're
that's
going to needle him up and get him out there. But
cortisone injections and away to go. But he's going to be playing wounded.
Why?
So, yeah.
Why would you risk him? Just go and get yourself right, get yourself healed up, and then come back.
Yeah.
I know.
Same with Benny Hunt last week.
Yeah.
He wasn't 100%. I guarantee it.
No.
But like the boys said tonight, what options do we really have?
Mm.
Our roster is so depleted at the moment. We don't have a lot of options. So I think we can get the win. And like the boys said, if Sims and McCulloch and a few of those sort of boys fire up, we're sort of half a chance. I think Blocker as well is going to be fair fired up. He's a beast. The last few weeks that he's played, he's just again, he's like Vaughan, and I've said it before. I just wish that they could do the minutes. If they were doing 40 or 60 minutes a game, it'd be so much different, But when they're on for 20 and off for 20 and back on for 20, it's real hard. Either that, or they've got to have one or the other coming off the bench so that we've got that constant bit of mongrel there and hard work. But again, like I said, we don't really have a lot of options, so the boys are just going to have to sort of dig deep and push themselves and really try and get the win, because I don't think it's going to be easy, but I reckon we can get it done.
One of the things that I think, I don't think anybody's actually mentioned it yet, well, I certainly haven't seen it on Facebook, is the return of Piasa Farmasili on the bench. And I think that makes a huge difference. When we were playing well, it was with that punch coming off the bench from guys like Farmasili. He's a wrecking ball when he comes onto the field, and he runs on, he bowls people over, he bends the defensive line. And when Vaughan and Laurie go off for a breather, we need the blokes to come on from the bench and keep that momentum going. And I think Farmasili coming back will help us be able to achieve that, because I don't think Alvaro and Ellis, all due respect, they're not blokes that are having any sort of impact at all off the bench. Do you think that'll make a difference, Mick?
To be honest, mate, I don't even know the bloke you're talking about. I've heard his name a couple of times, but I don't even know who he is. But look, I'm going to be pretty negative here. I think we're going to get done. I think we're going to get beaten. And the reason why I think we're going to get beaten is because Dragons have a very bad habit of losing to sides who we should beat. We've been doing it for as long as I've been a Dragons fan. And the teams that we should probably get flogged by, we can often have good games against. We've got no Ravalawa. He's a big. We mentioned it in the last Zoom meeting that you had. Ravalawa to me is a big miss in defence. Now we've got Lomax gone. He's another big miss. We haven't got Pereira, who was only just coming back. He got suspended, but I think he's a very good defender, a very good runner of the ball. Our backline's completely smashed to pieces. That Fegai, how do you actually pronounce his name?
Nobody knows.
So is it Fegai?
Fegai.
That was the guy that played on the wing, am I correct, last week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get cut off here in a minute.
Right. Well, he was actually getting roasted on Facebook, and I actually thought, I thought he actually played a pretty good game. He did some good carries back as well. He also made some good runs. But I just think with the players that we've lost, we should beat the Bulldogs, but we should have beaten the Warriors, and we didn't. We should have flogged the Tigers, and they didn't flog us, but we certainly did. We should have beaten the Tigers by 20 points at least, for liking if we were going to be anywhere near contenders for the premiership, and we're not. Even if we make the 8, we're going to get smashed. Penrith would kill us, Roosters would kill us, and it's not the coach's fault, it's not the players' fault. We don't have the roster.
I think if we were playing somebody else other than the Bulldogs, I'd agree with you. But I mean, the Bulldogs, Nick Kotrick's a decent player. Jake Averillo in the halves is a good player. And I think the Bulldogs have been a lot better since Luke Thompson came back into their team. But I can't see how we don't beat their forward pack. I can't see how we don't get on top of their forward pack in this game. I just think our forwards are better than their forwards, and that's where you win games of footy. Yep, there's some concerns about our ability to score points with no Lomax, no Ravaloa, Ramsey under an injury cloud as well. There's certainly some question marks as to whether we can score points, but you win that battle in the middle of the field, and you've got a guy like Matt Duffy in your team. I think we've got enough strike power to beat the Dogs, and we'll start favourites. We'll deserve to start favourites, and we should be beating the Bulldogs. Even if we've got our worst possible 17 players on the field, we're better than what the Bulldogs are, in my opinion.
Well, I think what Joe was saying before, and Matt as well, if Tarek Sims fires, we probably win because, as Joe was saying, when Tarek Sims fires, we usually win most games if he's on his good day. And if Tarek's having a slightly off day, we lose. So it actually shows the Dragons what a massive part that Tarek Sims actually plays in this side. And being the fact that we've lost a few in a row now, and we do need to win this game against a team coming last, Dragons can't really afford to lose this game. So I think Tarek will probably step up. He'd be my man as well to step up, I think.
Josh Kerr's the one for me. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I've been very, very, very underwhelmed by Josh Kerr's performances over the last few weeks. He is a bloke that he's 8'1" and 140 kilos. I made those numbers up, but he's a big boy. He needs to start playing like he's a big unit, and he seems to. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any fire in his belly. We need Josh Kerr to fire up. I don't know, Matty. Do you think that if Josh Kerr doesn't start to find his straps, do we have anybody that can come in and play in the second row to replace him?
I don't think we do. Certainly not of the caliber that we have seen glimpses on from Kerr. I think it was in line for Origin for Queensland a year or two ago. But at this point in time, he's not playing to the sort of level that we have seen from him before. But if he does continue this sort of run of out, so to speak, that he's having, I honestly don't know who we bring in. Yeah,
I think we've got Billy Burns and we've got Jackson Ford, and I think there are a couple of blokes that have been pretty underwhelming themselves. I think that there's some difficult decisions to be made. I have heard whispers that Josh Corrick, who's been playing in the SG Ball side, might be a chance of getting promoted. So he was supposed to be coming in as a development player next year or the year after. I have heard whispers that he might, be going into the development squad straight away, or maybe even straight into the top 30, such as the way that he's impressed the coaching staff during this season, the way that he's come on in the last 12 months. But in terms of more positive news, Joe, we had a grand final victory. The St George Dragons had a grand final victory on the weekend. The under-19s women's side beating the Sydney Roosters in the grand final. It's great for the club to be not just winning grand finals but dominating. 30 points to 4 they won. Nothing like a bit of silverware. It doesn't matter where it's come from. They all wear that red V with pride, and this is what we are. We're a collective. We're a club. Whether it's St George, whether it's Illawarra, St George Illawarra, we're one family, and women or men.
I'm proud of all of them, every age group, any age group. You know, they were very dominant, weren't they? I only wish I knew a little bit more about the young ladies and what they did, and so we can comment on the forum here. But I don't know enough about them, so I can't comment. Although I will say, congratulations to them and well done, girls. And yeah, that's wonderful. It's great to see, you know. And hopefully, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see the female competition kick on from here, you know. And I'd like to see every club have introduce a women's first grade team and play equal amount of rounds as the men do. Maybe 30 minutes aside as they do, you know, and play maybe 20 rounds a year or something like that, or 15 rounds a year, not just 4 or 5 games at the end of the year as an exhibition. You know, promote the women in league literally, you know, and make it grow. And I'd love to see that so much, because I've been involved with Lebanon Rugby League for a year or two now, and been on their board and committee. I've seen the development of a lot of my friends' daughters through the Lebanese community, and great talent. Lovely to see, you know. It's inspiring, and it gives everybody a chance to play our great game. And so, yeah, I'd love to see that happen. That's you know, a little bit of a dream for me. I'd love to see the female competition really kick on.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something that is going from strength to strength, and certainly on a bit of a personal note, there was a West Australian girl playing for the Dragons that scored 2 tries in the grand final by the name of Ruben Cherrington. Her sister from Western Australia as well was actually the NRLW Rookie of the Year last year. So she was playing for the Roosters, though. So hopefully we've got now that we've got young Ruben playing in the Red V, we can keep hold of her and maybe drag a sister over to the light side, if you like. So yeah, no, I think it was great for the girls to get that win. Not so much joy for the under 19s men's side though, Benny, going down to the Raiders 18-14.
No, mate, no, not at all. But hey, that's footy, you know what I mean? Our junior grades, I think, would be feeling the pinch a bit from what's happening upstairs as well. You know, I'm sure that as a younger player coming through, and you know, even in my experience, you know, you're always sort of waiting for that spot to open up a bit higher up. But yeah, so you do sort of watch what's happening with the first grade squad pretty closely. But yeah, you know, like I said, that's footy. You know, you win some, you lose some. And as long as you're in there having a crack, that's the main thing. And again, like Joe said, you know, congrats to the girls, and it's really good to see them getting the results. And you know, even like I said last week, it's so good. You know, even for my daughter, you know, she's growing up, you know, to want to play rugby league, and even me as a dad, you know, I said, oh, you know, my kids are going to play footy. You know, my sons are going to be footy heads, and my daughter's turning out to be a footy head as well. So it's awesome. Really good to see. So yeah, but again, also like Joe said too, I think even the junior grades should have a lot more coverage. You know, like you look at, you know, KO Sports and Foxtel and all the avenues we have for sports in this country. Like, you can't tell me they can't get a film crew there for the younger grades as well and televise it. You know, even if it's through an online link or something like that. Yeah, it's all rugby league, you know, and for me, you know, park footy, even though it's a bit higher up the park footy, but park footy is some of the best footy you'll ever see, you know, and they really do push a lot harder. There's a bit less of the sort of stardom in it. You know, they're there to play footy, and they're there to play their butts off. And so, yeah, it's good to see, you know, the younger age and that too. Like, I've even got mates that have gone to you know, first grade footy games, and they never watched the games before, and I'm like, that's the best bit, you know, get there early and watch some of the rising stars come through. So yeah, that's
And mate, I can tell you, I called a women's game over here in Western Australia on the weekend, Western Australian Kiwis against Western Australian City side, and that was a hell of a lot more enjoyable than the Dragons against the Tigers on the weekend. I'll give you that tip. It was that was a hell of a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, I mean, footy at any level. If you love rugby league, then you're gonna love footy at any level. And sometimes at those lower levels, they throw the ball around, they have a bit of fun, they play what's in front of them, and it can sometimes be more enjoyable. But certainly with the junior reps finishing, I think it does strengthen some of our lower grade sides and give us some more options. Junior Amon, we've seen him in the extended squad in the NRL side for the last couple of weeks. Expect him to, if he doesn't get a run in first grade, I don't think he will, but if he doesn't get a run in first grade, then he'll drop back and be playing reserve grade. Tyrell Sloan's been named on the wing in reserve grade as well this weekend. Ben Johnson's named on the wing in the under-21 side coming up from the SG Ball side. And while they haven't been named, I do expect Josh Corrick and Jackson Sherrod to slot into the lower grades somewhere this weekend. So, that adds a lot of strength coming up from that sort of under-19s competition into the reserve grade and under-21s. So, I think we're going to see some improved performances from our lower grades, because I think they've lost their last couple as well. So, some good things to come. Just, I suppose, a final word from each of you. We'll go around the panel on either the game against the Tigers or something that you want to say about the game coming up against the Bulldogs. So I'll start with you, Matty.
I am actually looking forward to the Bulldogs clash on the weekend. I think it's going to be as every bit as intense as what we've seen in the past. Now, one thing I did think wasn't quite sure about was the selection of Fuamaono in the centres. I actually asked the Mad Dragons group if someone could sort of run me through the logic behind that. And Stephen Bates has provided me with some stats. Now, Fuamaono has actually played 9 games in the top grade in the centre position and scored 2 tries, whereas in the second row he's played 13 and scored 1. So, look, he does have centre experience. Maybe a little bit big for a centre in my eyes, but look, that if he gets close to the line, that might be a good thing. He might find himself getting a couple more this weekend if things go away. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes. I reckon he'll go all right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I think, yes, when he first came into grade for Penrith, he did play a fair bit in the centres when he first came into the top grade. He's a different body shape now to what he was when he first came into grade at Penrith. He's had injuries. He's basically been converted into a middle third forward playing lock for us. He's lost all of that lateral movement that you need in the centre. So I am concerned about Fuamaono in the centres, but again, we've got to put our trust in Hook, and who knows, he might come up with something different. And I think Joe pointed out that there's not a lot of other options. I mean, it's probably either Fuamaono in the centres or Billy Burns in the centres, and I don't think either of them are great options. The other options apart from that are dead set rookies that you don't know what you're going to get. So it's a difficult position that the coach has been put in, and he's gone for a big bloke that'll try and lock it up defensively. But I don't think we're going to have too much attack down that side, unfortunately. Last word from you, Joe.
I'll end it with this. I missed the friggin' team song. Hurry up, boys! Get a victory, please. I missed that little trainer bloke smashing that bottle on top of the esky. So please, and I don't want to lose to the Bulldogs. Lose to anybody you want, but not the Bulldogs. Thank you. That'll do for me.
Yeah, I feel you. My wife's a Bulldogs fan, so it's one game where my brother-in-law and my auntie. It's not a team I want to lose to. Mick, your last thoughts, mate?
Well, look, as we said about Tarek Sims, and when you mentioned Josh Kerr before, I really like Josh Kerr. Been a little bit out the last sort of couple of weeks from how he can play. If he lives to the potential that he can play and he goes with Tarek, Maguire will do what he's been doing since he turned up. And Blake Laurie, we should get over their forward pack. So hopefully if the forwards lift, we'll win the game. The loss of also Braden Williami, for me, he's a big defender for us, so we lose him as well. So our forwards, it's really going to be on our forwards. If our forwards lift, we win. because our backs just, nothing against the newer guys coming in, but they haven't had enough time for me in first grade to gel, to put it all together. So if our forward pack rolls the way they should and they all lift and get inspired, we should win the game.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think our forward pack, there's been a few games this year where if our forward pack comes out at a stalemate, we win the game because our outside backs have got enough points in them. This is a different kettle of fish. This is a case where our forward pack needs to dominate for us to win. So, and I think we can. I think the pack can, but they really need to lift. They need to go up a level from where they have been. So I totally agree.
They got no Dylan Napa, don't forget. So really, there's no excuse. You know, we can dominate in the forwards, and we just need Tarek and Josh to fire up. I don't think we have any problems with Blocker and Paul, because they usually are fired up all the time. But the back rowers need to be turned on, and yeah, we win this game. You know.
Yeah. No.
We haven't even actually mentioned Vaughan till Joe just mentioned Vaughan then, and probably because Vaughan's been doing his job all the time, but he can't just do it by himself.
Yeah, needs some
That's
help.
right.
Your last thoughts, Benny?
So how many more shit games does Norman have to have before he gets booted?
Yeah, be straight to the point, mate. Why not?
I love that one.
Well, everything else has been off the record, but that's going on.
I don't mind, mate. I'm happy
It should all go
to
on.
have that put out there. I think he's.
It should all go on.
That's going to be the highlight reel.
I've said it. I've said it before. I just think he's just a lazy footballer. I think our forwards have got it against the Dogs. I think they're going to come out strong. I hope they're going to come out strong, and I think we'll get it over in the forwards. The key to me is the halves and Dufty. Like, was Dufty even on the field last week? You know what I mean? He had very little impact at all. A couple of decent tackles when they were out in open space, but attack-wise, he wasn't there. He wasn't injecting himself. He wasn't running off the halves. So he's got to be on. And I hate how everyone, and the commentators do it as well. Oh, you know, we need Dufty to get in here and do this, and we're relying on Dufty, and Dufty needs to do this, but he needs to stand up this week. And if he doesn't, it's going to be a tough one. And I've always been a huge fan of Dufty, but he did not impress me one bit last week. So.
Yeah, can I just jump in here about Dufty quickly, just before I go? Second phase play. We need our back rowers. You know, they need to offload the ball and give it to Dufty. So in saying that, you're only as good as your offloads. So you need the second phase play to be working. So that's why I don't put a lot of pressure and a lot of blame on Dufty, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. For me on that one, there was a lot of times in that game where Dufty was there. Dufty was right there on the inside, and they used him as a decoy more often than they actually gave him the ball. The amount of times he was there on the inside, they dummied him and went to the outside, and then, I don't know, Carrick dropped it, was unbelievable. They tried that little outside-inside play, and for whatever reason, Norman or Hunt didn't like what was in front of him, and so he didn't get the ball, but he was there. He was there looking for opportunities. They just didn't present themselves in that particular game. I thought he was actually really good defensively. There was a couple of times where the Tigers made straight line breaks, one-on-one tackles, and Dufty made the tackle. There was 2 times in open play, and then there was another time where the Tigers were playing off the cuff, and he came out of the line and shut a play down. So it's 3 times where I think he saved tries. Like, defensively, he was really good. In attack, yeah, he was there, but the opportunities just weren't given to him by the halves, I didn't think.
That's a tough one for me. Like, he shouldn't be so reliant on the halves or on getting the ball. Like, get in there and create opportunities. You know what I mean? He's not sniffing around looking to create opportunities. He's sort of relying on the halves or on the sort of, you know, centers and second rows to give him an inside ball so he can sneak through a gap. For me, I don't know whether he's getting lazy, but it just seems like he's, I don't know, a bit complacent. He's not pushing, and that's what I want to see.
one of the criticisms I've heard other people use when they're talking about Dufty is that the only time he ever gets the ball or looks like he's going to get the ball is from a set piece, from a set play. It has to be something that's set up and structured. He doesn't actually go looking for it in those sort of ad hoc situations, and that's where he would be the most dangerous. But yeah, he doesn't seem to sniff around often enough. Mick, I know you've been trying to get in there a couple of times, mate.
I was just mentioning about Dufty. He took a tremendous bomb. It was one of those horrific kicks right on the goal line, and if he'd have dropped that, would have been a knock on. They would have scored. And and he got hammered when he took it. And I thought, well, you know, sometimes people attack Matty with his defence, but he's developed a lot better in his defusing of the bomb. So I just wanted to remind the panel, if you want to call it that he did. That would have been a try. That would have been a dead set try. If he'd knocked that on, it was about a metre out from the try line, and they would have gone over. Sure, the way they were playing. So, yeah, and he got hammered when he took it. He didn't drop it. So, you know, Matty, he's developing into a pretty decent fullback. He just needs a few more years to really be the great fullback. But I think he's slowly developing, and I think he gets a little bit attacked more about his defence when I think he's actually better. As you mentioned too, he's done a couple of good one-on-ones with people by himself. And just quickly, I'll leave it with this. I remember a few years ago we were playing the Cowboys. And Tamalalo made a break about 30 metres out on his own. Tamalalo was running a full ball, and Dufty literally came and threw his body directly in front of Tamalalo. Tamalalo, of course, used him like a speed bump. And Tarek Simpson and a couple of other guys come over and got Tamalalo to the ground. If Dufty didn't throw his little 5'5" or whatever he is, 84 kilos frame in front of Tamalalo scores. So he's a courageous little man, and he's bloody light, and he's got to tackle big 120 kilo wingers, not just forwards. We've got 110 kilo wingers getting around on the comp, and Dufty's got to get in the road. So he's a courageous little bloke. So I like him.
Yeah, no, he certainly is. It's a high pressure position, I think, playing at fullback, and I don't think people give him enough credit. But I think at the same time, people expect him to be something that he's not. He's never going to be James Tedesco. He's never going to be a bloke that is flawless. He's always going to have weaknesses in his game, but I think he's always going to have that ability to do things that nobody else in the competition can do. It's just a matter of whether
Rocks and diamonds.
Yeah, it's just a matter of whether you can accept it, take the good with the bad with Dufty. I think we're always going to have it. And until you've got somebody better to replace him with, whether that's Ramsey, whether that's Sloan, that remains to be seen. If they play well in the lower grades and prove that they are better players, then I'm sure they'll get their opportunities in due course. But at the moment, I think Matt Dufty's the best we've got.
Does that get him a contract after the end of the season?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know whether that's good enough to get him a contract next year. But I think it would be ballsier than the Dragons have been in a long time if they don't give him a contract. Because I think that's saying, Ramsey and Sloan, we are going with you and we are dumping the incumbent. We're going to put our faith into a couple of untried, unproven fullbacks. I don't. That has not been the Dragons' MO for a long, long time. We don't do that. So, I wouldn't mind it if we did, because I think those two are really talented players, and I think one of the two is going to be an absolute superstar. And I don't know whether Dufty's ever going to be an absolute superstar. Anyway, boys, we'll wrap it up there. It's been a bit of a somber show, but I think that we can beat the Bulldogs. I don't think a couple of weeks ago, I would not have been so uncertain. I would have been absolutely certain we were going to smash the Bulldogs. Now I'm on edge. I'm on tenterhooks. I'm walking on eggshells. But I think we can beat the Bulldogs. I think we've got a better team than them on paper. And I think that we'll win the battle in the forwards and we'll have enough points in us. We've only got to score more than 18 points when we beat the Bulldogs. That they haven't been able to get past 18 all year. So that's all we've got to do. Crack 18 and we win. Go the Dragons.